Here they come. All right, everybody, good morning. Thank you guys for joining this very important All IB exam group Zoom. So I'm hoping that you guys get a lot of information that you're going to need today. You see that I've already put the exam start day. We will start our IB exams on Wednesday, May 5th. So if you guys have something to take notes on, or you might want a blank sheet of paper, or if you guys can open up a tab on your whatever device you're using for this and take some of these important notes. Myself and your teacher is going to have some really important information for you guys today. And really today is all about making sure you guys are completely aware of what's going to happen for second semester. So I have some important updates as the IB coordinator. For some of you guys that don't know me, my name is Mr. Dennis. I'm the new IB coordinator here at Westminster High School. We are doing this to hopefully inform you guys and make sure you guys are well equipped and prepared for these major exams that are scheduled for starting for us May 5th. And hopefully you guys will kick butt and take names, and this is all part of that process. So if you guys have something to take notes on, we're gonna go ahead and get rolling here. And really the purpose of this meeting too, guys, is like on a non-logistical level, is to really create a sense of urgency for you guys. I want you guys to know that this is super important. And right now, I understand that we are in the middle of a global pandemic, and we could all make 1,000 excuses for why things are, and reasons why we can't get things done and how things are going in our lives. But this is really important for you guys, and I want you to put this somewhere on your priority list, and I want you to start focusing on your classes. And if you can, make every single Zoom call that your teachers are putting out there, because a lot of these guys are doing everything they can to make sure you guys are successful. So with that said, I want to let you guys know that IB exams are scheduled to take place no matter what. So what this means is right now I really need you guys talking with your teachers, and your teachers need to be talking with you about next semester. Because we've had a lot of kids drop out of IB this past semester, and I don't want that to happen second semester. So the standard operating procedure for how we get you out of IB needs to happen right now. So if there are any of you that are thinking about getting out of IB, you have until the end of this semester to do it. After semester, which means if you come back in January and you are scheduled in an IB class, and you email your counselor or your teacher and you say, hey, I want out of this class, you will be charged the $120 exam fee, which is a subject fee, really, guys. So I want you guys to make sure that because you've had the IB experience, that subject fee is for the class. So don't think of it as you only pay $120 to take the exam. You pay $120 to be a part of IB and take your subjects. So if you are in Mr. Bell's math class and you email him on January 15th and you're like, Mr. Bell, some things have come up, I need out of IB. You'll probably get a dash for his class, and you'll be charged the $119 for your subject fee. So if there's any of you that are looking to make changes, we need to have conversations
it went mute.
now. Is it okay? Can you guys hear me now? Uh-oh.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Jeff.
I unmuted and muted myself again. Did that work?
There you are.
Okay. So what I was saying, guys, is just make sure you're having your conversations with your teachers now about any schedule changes, because we will probably not accommodate you going forward after January. After January, you're locked in. Okay. So again, if you have any questions, please save them until the end. We'll have some question and answer time at the end of this. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Miss Kodi Kelly, who's going to give you guys some tips and strategies on how to protect your mental health right now. So Thank you, Miss Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dennis. Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Miss Kelly. I am a IB World Lit teacher, so I probably teach maybe half of you, and the other half maybe don't know who I am. But I wanted to take a moment today to talk about the importance of like self-awareness and self-care. and giving yourself not only a little bit of self-love, but what I like to call tough love, because we can't always be kind and compassionate to ourselves. Sometimes we need to push ourselves, right? So it's really important that right now in this time during virtual learning, that in all times, that you're really careful about where you're spending your energy and your time and how you're filling that energy back up, right? So I'm sure your teachers, if you're in my class, have given you tons of tips have given you things on how to stay motivated, stay organized, manage your time. And the reality is everything is going to work differently for everyone. Whatever works well for me might not work well for you. And so it's really important that you find an opportunity to figure out what does work for you. Does writing a to-do list work for you and crossing it off? Does setting calendar invites or appointments in your calendar or in your phone or reminders in your phone something that's helpful for you? You've got to find a way to keep yourself organized. Maybe a planner is the thing that works for you. I used to use a planner all the time. Virtual learning, the planner doesn't fit my situation anymore. I actually don't use a planner anymore because I have a different mode of managing my to-do list, okay? The bigger thing too is to make sure that it can be overwhelming when you have 7 classes, maybe, depending on who you are. You've got a lot of work to do. You got multiple IAs happening. You have IB classes, you have sports, you have work, you have siblings, you have your own self to take care of. That is a lot of stuff, right? So you really need to make sure that you schedule in time for everything. You have to plan it out. So if you want to make sure that you get to the gym, then you have to decide what time that day you can get to the gym and make a plan and schedule it. Put it in your calendar and schedule in you time so that you can be much more effective in your work and academic time. Because if you're constantly draining yourself, you will have nothing left for anyone else, including you, who's the most important part of this whole process, okay? So I'm gonna do something a little mindfully with you today. If you're in my class, you're used to this, so you know the deal, you know the jam. If you are not used to this, here's a couple points of interest. Number one, I'm gonna walk you through an activity. You're gonna write something down and then I'm gonna have you visualize some things. I ask that you try. Even if you think it's weird, it's strange, it makes you uncomfortable, you're sitting in your room by yourself most likely, so nobody can see you. It's okay. We can't see you because you have your black box on. So there's nothing to be scared of, right? You just try it on, okay? And listen to what I say. And if all else fails, all you have to do is focus on taking breaths. Slow, deep breaths. You can ignore everything else that happens except for focusing on your breathing, okay? So we're gonna first start by thinking about something. I want you to grab a piece of scratch paper. This could be a sticky note. I'm gonna use a sticky note. It could just be any old piece of scratch paper you have laying around. That's cool. But I want it to be separate than a notebook because you're gonna place it somewhere when we're done here today. So grab a sticky note, piece of scratch paper, and a pen or pencil. Maybe if you're like me, you have a specific pen or pencil you're into. Maybe there's a specific color that makes you feel good. That's cool too, all right? So on this piece of paper, I want you to think about, before you write, consider, why did you join IB? Whether you're a diploma or a certificate student, why are you a part of this program? Why is it important to you? Why do you want to finish it? Why are you here? Think of one sentence or even a short phrase that represents this idea for you. I will give you about 90 seconds to write down your why. And if you have more than one reason, that is okay. Feel free to add a couple of whys there if that suits your purpose today. I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds to finish. Once you have that piece of paper, you're just going to set it to the side somewhere. We will come back to it. Okay. So I'm going to lead you through a visualization now. This is the part that might feel a little heebie-jeebie and weird. That's okay. Feel uncomfortable. That's normal, okay? So first, I'd like you to find yourself in a comfortable seat in your chair. Make sure that you're not straining any muscles. You're laying back in it maybe. Your head is rested. You're calm and grounded, okay? Place your hands either on the sides or on your lap. Make sure that your feet are flat on the ground, okay? Your goal is to not use any muscles right now, to just be as relaxed as you can. Okay, I'm gonna ask that you close your eyes. And again, this might feel weird for you, but you're probably in your room, so who cares? Close your eyes, nobody's looking at you, nobody is watching you, right? So go ahead and close your eyes now. For a second, notice how you feel. My heart is racing because I'm giving a visualization right now, so a little bit of nerves are running, but that's okay. Just notice how you're feeling and allow that to just be. Could be overwhelmed, could be tired, could be excited. Notice your breath. How does it feel? Is it slow? Is it fast? Don't change it. Just be aware of it. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths together as a group. So exhale all of the air out of your mouth. And to a count of 3, you're going to breathe in slowly. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Hold at the top. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Inhale again for a second round. 3, 2, 1. Hold at the top. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. At the bottom. Last one, biggest breath of your day. Try to reach to 4. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale all of your air out of your mouth as much as you possibly can. Let it all go. 3, 2, 1. Now just sit there, eyes still closed. Take note if you feel different. Take note if that breath changed anything for you. Take a moment to ensure that all parts of your body are relaxed. Relax your toes, your feet, your calves, your knees. Relax your thighs. Relax your bum into your seat. Feel the seat hold you up. You don't need to hold anything right now. Relax your stomach, your chest. Drop your shoulders from your ears. Relax your forehead, your eyes, your mouth and jaw. And drop the tongue from the roof of your mouth. Take one big deep breath on your own. I want you to imagine your workspace. Maybe this is your actual workspace in your room, in an office, in your living room, in your kitchen. Maybe this is an imagined workspace, the perfect workspace that you could ever imagine. What would be in that workspace? What would you see? What would you have near you? What would be on the walls, or what would be in a frame next to your computer? Imagine the perfect workspace. Now I want you to imagine what it feels like when you are doing work there. And not just doing work, but feeling successful at your work. Seeing progress, getting answers right, understanding a math equation, coming up with a big aha in your novel. Imagine that feeling of how good it feels when you've done the hard work and you've seen the results of that work. And take that feeling in. If you can associate a color with that feeling, I would like you to see that color right now in your mind space. What color aligns with your success? I want you to take yourself through a timeline of the next year. December comes, January comes, you keep working at this desk, this perfect workspace. You show up every day with a schedule and a plan and your new motivation because you have this why in your head that you thought about. And I want you to imagine yourself getting up every day and doing the work, regardless of how you feel about it, because you know that it's good for you. Monday comes, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, February, March, April, and you have been working hard every single day. I want you to bring yourself to May. I want you to imagine that you're at this workspace and you've just finished your final exams and you've just realized that you have just passed high school or maybe junior year, depending on where you're at. But either way, you've finished a year of IB because you worked hard and because you believed in yourself and because you never gave up. I want you to imagine that feeling again, the feeling of success, of pride. What color does your success look like? I want you to see that color in your head again. And then I want you to think of your why. Why did you do IB? Why is it important to you? I want you right now in your head, knowing that you're going to make it to this place in May, say thank you to yourself for giving that why a chance. Say thank you to yourself for giving yourself a chance. I want you to imagine graduation day. Let's pretend COVID doesn't happen right now. You walk up onto that graduation stage. You've got your full gown on. Maybe it's black, maybe it's white. But you know for sure that you have an IB cord around your neck. An IB cord that you earned. No one else earned it for you. You walk up on that stage. They hand you your diploma. The corners of your lips start to curl up out of happiness and pride. You look out into that audience and you peek at your family, your friends. And again, you say thank you to yourself for working hard and for showing up. Sit in that feeling for just a moment. Let's take one last breath together. Exhale all of your air out. Inhale, count of 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Gently start to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Blink open your eyes. Come back to the space that you are currently in. Notice how you might feel now. Maybe better, maybe worse. That is okay. Let it be. Let it go. I want you to take your little note of your why. I want you to place it somewhere right now in your workspace, in your desk space that you will see every single day to remind you why you're going to do this, why you're going to show up for yourself, for your family, for your life and your future. Okay, I'm going to place mine on my wall right here. All I got. Thank you, Jeff Dennis. You can pass it on to the next person.
Thank you, Miss Kelly. That was absolutely amazing. Really, really appreciate it. I don't know about everybody else, but I feel so much better. So, all right.
Good. That's the goal. If one person feels better, then I've done my job.
Well, you did your job. Great job. All right. I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Troy, who was nice enough to reach out to some former IB grads who have been through this and have, they've done the trial by fire, just like you guys are all going through. And even though they didn't experience it during a global pandemic, they have some wisdom that will be very useful for you guys going forward. So, Mr. Troy, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to all of you. So for this part of what we are doing today, I brought up to Mr. Dennis that I thought it might be really good to actually reach out to some former IB students who have been in your shoes not too long ago, and who not only were really successful here at Westminster High School, but also after they left, and they've gone on to do all sorts of awesome things since then. And I thought that would be a really good perspective for everybody. I know all of the current Westminster High School students, you hear from all of us a lot, but hearing from some people who were in your quite literal seat not too long ago and who remember this and who had their own little tips and tricks, I thought that would actually be a very powerful opportunity. So I reached out to a few of them, and they are joining us today. So we have Teryn Weidemann and Adrian Raya and Eva Spencer, who are all who've been gracious enough to join us. So what I'm going to have each of them do, I'll kind of ask the question of them and have them respond and give you some insight into maybe how they did what they did. So So Teryn, maybe since Teryn's first on my screen, maybe we can start with Teryn. So Teryn, if you wouldn't mind, can you talk really quickly about what you were involved, or how you were involved with IB and what year that was?
Yeah, so I was in the diploma program. So that's six of the classes. And that was in 2013 when I graduated. So
Awesome. So thanks again for joining us. And I'm curious if you could share a little bit about maybe some tips and tricks you used, or some kind of words of advice, words of encouragement for current IB students, things that you did that worked really well for you, or things that kind of helped you keep everything in perspective.
yeah, so I think if you're in the IB program in any sense, the certificate, the diploma, you already are a driven, hardworking person. That goes without saying. So you're already doing stuff that a lot of people aren't even doing. So just being here doing this is something. Then you actually have to do it. So that's the hard part. I mean, it's not easy. It's not super fun all the time, being in this really hard program. But you know what else isn't easy? Anything else. So being in a pandemic, when you're doing the IB program, being home, maybe with family, maybe taking care of siblings, maybe doing a bunch of other stuff, college applications. What else isn't easy? College. College isn't easy either. So there's a lot that you have to do in your life that's not easy. But if you're a driven, hardworking person, like you guys already are, then you can do it. And like Miss Kelly was telling you, like, write down your why. And when you're struggling and when you're like, this is awful, I don't want to do my assignments today, like I have too many things to do, like look at that paper and say, here's what I'm doing this for. Maybe it's so I can get college credit and graduate early. Maybe it's so I can, do this and like show my family that I'm worthy of doing something that's really hard. Maybe it's a lot of reasons, and I don't know what your specific reasons are, but when it's hard, think about why you're doing it. That's kind of my advice. That's what I usually do, when I'm struggling, when things are overwhelming, when I have too much going on and I'm like, why am I putting myself through this? What is the reason why? And then I say, well, is that what I want to do? Is that my end goal? Yes, it is. So if that's your end goal, I know that you guys are the type of people who will do anything to achieve that goal. So that's kind of what I do. Like, if you have a goal, you're going to work hard to do it. So you just have to do it. A lot of times, like in this program, you guys have a lot of classes, a lot of different coursework. So what worked for me is making lists of things I need to do. And even if it's like a really overwhelming list, if you set a timer and you do 25 minutes of the first thing on your list, and then you take a 5-minute break, and then you set another 25-minute timer and you do the second thing on your list. And even if you don't finish those things, you're doing something for 25 minutes and you're not looking at your phone and you're making progress, even if it's minimal, you're doing something to get you towards that goal. That's kind of like how I operate.
Excellent. And then I was hoping that you could, can you share what you're doing now and how you can kind of connect what you're doing now with how it felt to be in the IB diploma program back in 2013?
Yeah, so right now, so after I went to Westminster High School, I went to Colorado State. I got my bachelor's. I had a lot of credits from IB that I earned from the tests. So I graduated in 3 years instead of 4. And then after that, I went on to go to physician assistant school. So that's a master's degree. I'm in my last semester right now. So I'm graduating in May too, like a lot of you guys. So the master's degrees usually are, pretty difficult in and of themselves, but this type of program is what they do is they take medical school and they say, hey, like 4 years is too long. So let's put it into 2 years. And, you just do med school in 2 years, basically. So I'd say it's pretty similar to IB. You have a lot going on. And I still do the same things that I was telling you. I make my list of tests I have to study for, things I need to get done. And I check down my list and I'd set a 25-minute timer and I turn my phone in the other room and I just keep doing that. And it's worked for me in IB. It worked for me in undergrad. It's working for me post grad. So like, that's kind of, IB has helped me in a lot of ways to be successful in other things that are similar and really difficult.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Teryn. I appreciate that. That was awesome. And what we'll do next is same kind of thing, but from the perspective of another person. So the next one I see on my screen is Adrian. So Adrian, if you don't mind, can you also say what your involvement with IB was and what year that was for you as well?
Yes, of course. So, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Very much like Teryn, I went through the IB program and graduated in 2013. So we were in the same class, which was fantastic. And it's so good to see you. I will be honest with you. I went through the program, but I was not able to actually get the I guess the credits from the exams. I mean, if I'm being honest, math got me. But I mean, it was still worth the time and the effort of going through the rigorous classes. And I will say that because then transitioning into college, some of the things that we were being asked to do and the lengths of the papers that we were expected to write, I felt better prepared than my classmates that had not gone through IB. So it gave me that mentality, like, oh, this is nothing. We've already been doing something like this, you know? And definitely being with the community of the teachers that we had. And I very much see that even with some of you that I did not get to meet or take classes with. It feels like this is a community where the teachers still care about the student body very much. So understand that you are lucky to have that at WHS. My place, my little niche, was in the arts. Ever since we first came into the country, we came in from Mexico. So Spanish, I only knew Spanish up to the, what was it, like 5th, 4th grade level. So Spanish did not help me out. I did not yet know English. I still have an accent 15 years into living in this country, but art became that universal language for me. And so this is why I stuck with it throughout high school and even after high school. So that is my experience at school.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing now and how you can kind of connect that to what happened in the IB diploma program that you were in?
Yes, of course. So going back to really making it clear that the teachers, oh boy, the highest caliber of people that I honestly encountered, because throughout high school, like there were all these, oh my gosh, Miss Curley, Mr. Krieger, Mr. Troy, heck, even middle school, Mr. Dennis. I remember you from, I think it was Clear Lake, or no, yeah, Clear Lake. So I had all of these different role models that I was looking up to. And as somebody who did not feel like he fit in, not necessarily just because of the language, but I feel like every kid in high school at some point feels like they don't belong to the greater community, which is a shame. And it's interesting that everybody goes through it. So it's like nobody fits, yet we want to fit in, if that makes sense. Anyways, now fast forward to 2020, I decided to go into education. And so art education is my goal. Again, looking back to the instructions from Mr. Krieger, Miss Music, just these brilliant mentors that made me feel like I belonged at WHS. And I hope to do the same for the students that go in there. If I want to be specific about it, like the Spanish speakers that are struggling with the language, yo hablo español, así que yo también te puedo tratar de ayudar de esa manera durante nuestras clases. O sea, it's just the support that I can have for two different sets of communities coming together was my goal. Tomorrow is meant to be my last day of student teaching. So I graduate in a few days. So I will be a first generation graduate. And sorry that saying it aloud, it has a different, effect, but let me get a hold of myself real quick. I will tell you this, that during the summer and finishing up the spring semester and seeing how the world got so chaotic and people became disencouraged, I lost motivation, as most of you did, students and teachers. You as the students might feel like, hey, not a lot of things matter anymore. Understand that your teachers feel that however many times of students they have in there, so understand that everybody's feeling it, but I'm about to jump into this profession of teaching, and I want you to understand that we do care about you. We do care about what you make with your life after you leave our classroom. And back in the summer, I was really considering to postpone this last semester because every scary, it did not seem safe. And then I thought, well, hey, time is gonna fly by anyways. Time is going to pass no matter what decision I make right now. So I gathered all my stuff in my head and I decided to just stick with it. And now I'm just a few days away from graduating. So looking back now from then, I definitely do not regret the decision to just stay with my classes, just finish this program. And if I'm lucky enough, I might begin to teach in the spring and support students that are going through the same thing. So please just take a second to evaluate yourself, think about your strengths, think about your limits. And if you really can't stick with IB at this time, perfect. I mean, nobody's gonna blame you. Everybody's here to support you. But be honest with yourself. Can you make it through these next few months? Because as Miss Kelly here was saying, brilliant exercise. Actually, it got me to relax quite a bit. Time is going to pass. So imagine yourself a few months from now and looking back and saying, hey, I decided to make the right decision and I went through the motions and I made it through, and you're stronger for it at this point. So.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Adrian. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Last but not least, so Eva Spencer is joining us as well. So to start with, Eva, I'm hoping that can you also say what your involvement with IB was and what year you were in the program as well?
Okay, I unmuted myself. I was in the program in 2014 or graduated in 2014. I was a diploma student, and so I took all the classes and the extras, and I don't remember the abbreviations anymore.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. So similar to Teryn and Adrian, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about kind of some tips and tricks, things you remember from the program, sort of words of wisdom that you could pass on to current IB students.
Mm-hmm. So I'm someone who gets bored really, really, really easily, and I have the no attention span, surprisingly. So for me, it's really just like everything has to be broken down into so many different pieces, and I can't work on one thing for too long unless I'm like hyper focused on that thing that I'm gonna then zone into it for a while. But really, I think it's I actually developed in college, but doing a 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off is really helpful for me, just like giving myself a solid work time. But at the 45-minute mark, I do want to look at my phone and walk around and eat food and talk to people. So like that's when it's a really good moment to take away and do whatever I want in that time. And even if I'm zoned into it at that point, I'm still going to force myself up and away because I need that. I also need to change up my study space a lot. I don't have a like perfect ideal study space that's going to last for, many times. I kind of need to change the spot I'm in, go outside, move things around, start off by reorganizing the space entirely. Just whatever I can do in that sort of thing. And I know a lot of people don't like to have lots of sound. I am opposite. I like to blast the music and have a TV show in the background, just like everything going all at once and just kind of spiral it all out. And so if that's helpful for whoever in here is like that, that it really works for me. But I really do think it's important, if you do have other priorities in your life in a global pandemic and in a time of everything going on, there just are things that are more important than school. And if you're facing something that's more important than school right now, the stuff like you know, keep track of it all, know what you need to come back to. But in my experience, you can take that space and get through that and then move to the other thing. And it's a lot easier to move through something if you've given the space to address whatever you're going through in that moment. There's just a lot, and this is worldwide. Like everyone is having a hard time right now. So I do think that that's really important. That's something that I wish I would have done more in high school, definitely, because I cried so much through IB, and in later years in college when I was working on things, I didn't need to cry or freak out or anything, because it was a lot easier to just take the space, go back to the thing, it's waiting, and I can do it fast. If it's not the best thing that I turn in that time, I'll do better on the next thing. Like just getting through each thing, figuring out where you can double dip different ideas, because in the IB program, you can often overlap different ideas from different classes. So then you're doing half the work. And figuring out like reading strategies and writing strategies that help you power through work faster is really helpful. Like reading strategies, for instance, people aren't going to be actually sitting down and reading a 400-page book overnight, but they might read, you know, the first paragraph or they might read the entire intro chapter, the first paragraph or two of each chapter, skim to the end, get to the last paragraph, and then be like, do I understand the main idea? If you understand the main idea, move on to the next chapter. You don't need all the extra stuff unless you're referencing it for a research project. So that sort of stuff can really cut down on time and get through things fast. And I think that that is really helpful for me.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Can you also talk a little bit about what you're doing now and how that connects back with what you might have done back in the IB days?
Yeah. So I moved out to Portland, Oregon to go to Portland State University. And I was doing pretty well in that, but I had a really severe chronic illness with severe chronic pain that got a lot worse right in college, and then progressed through the years, and it got to the point where that was the priority and that was what I needed to do. So I had to drop out of school to get the surgery that I needed. And then from there, I was kind of barred from going back to school financially. I had burned through all the money. And they said that they'd put everything on hold, but that was a lie, because college is, you just always want to get 3 people to tell you a thing before you are like, yeah, cool, that's the thing, and write down their names. So from there, I just focused on my own healing, and now I am working in a domestic violence shelter as an advocate, and I started my own business, an art business. So I've been making a lot of art that has actually been successful.
Awesome. Thank you. So for the 3 former IB students who joined us, so Teryn, Adrian, and Eva, thank you very much for taking some time today to do that, and for passing on your nuggets of wisdom to the current IB students. And for the current IB students, one thing I hope you gathered from their thoughts this morning is that there's a strong personal connection that exists in the IB program that outlives the program, right? The fact that I reached out to the 3 of them and they were all willing and able to come back and do something like this says, I think, a lot about the students that are in IB and how they recognize the personal connection that exists in the program. And so take advantage of that as well. You know, I've heard the word family be mentioned many times when it comes to how people feel in IB, and that can be a really strong thing to lean on in these challenging times as well. So kind of keep that in mind. So Teryn and Adrian and Eva, if any of our current students have some questions or things, would it be okay for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And I have the contact information for them. So current students, if you think maybe it would be helpful to have a little back and forth conversation with any of the three of them, I can certainly put you into contact with them. So Teryn and Adrian and Eva, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate everything that you did this morning.
Thank you.
Can't stress that enough how appreciative I am of you guys. Thank you so much. We as adults can sit here and we can tell them about, you know, everything they can expect, and at the end of the day, that, you know, we're just going to be the adults talking from the outside in. So it's really nice to hear them and to hear you guys give them stories of, we've been through this, we know what it's like. So thank you guys so much. Truly, truly appreciate it. Okay. We are going to move on now. I'm going to pass this along to Ms. Herder, and she's going to talk to you guys about the importance of communication and proactive behavior, which during this global pandemic, guys, is more important than ever before. So Ms. Herder, the floor is yours.
Ugh. Those are some rough acts to follow, right? Like I can't be as awesome as that, right? And I just a couple small thoughts on communication. I'm pretty sure that all the adults in this Zoom can't say that they've got it all figured out in terms of perfect communication, right? It's something that we can always work on. It's one of those things that's almost never perfect, right? No matter what. And especially when you're communicating with a group of people, right? But I think particularly during a pandemic or even during remote learning, like the biggest thing that I can share is that it doesn't matter whether you're, you know, stuck on a calculus problem because you guys just started learning that remotely, more power to you, right? Or if you don't know what a null hypothesis is, or you don't even know what an adjective is, right? Even down to those super sad, dark feelings of feeling like alone and you can't do this and I just don't know how to get out of it. It's all gonna be super consuming and feel really heavy if you keep that to yourself, right? And the moment that you are able to say, hey, I don't get this. Hey, I need your help. Hey, I'm feeling this way. You immediately share the weight of those feelings with another person, right? And it's probably one of the most empowering experiences that you can have, right? Is just talking to somebody, whether it's your friend, your teacher, your mom, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you're sharing the way that you're feeling, and not just in like the moments of deep darkness and like, I don't even know what other kind of adjectives I can use to describe the depth of the places that we can go, right? But even in the moments of celebration, right? Like in the last couple of weeks, I have had more kids tell me that they have been accepted to college, right? Like that's a huge success, and you guys need to celebrate and scream that from the rooftops, right? And that's huge, right? So more than anything, teachers can't help you if they don't know, right? Your parents can't help you if you don't know, and counselors and whatever else, right? And so I think that's kind of the biggest lesson in communication that I've learned personally from the pandemic too. So.
Awesome, thank you, Ms. Herder.
Yeah.
All right, so on that note, I'm now going to pass it along to Mr. Sean Bell, who in my opinion is a super nerd. And I absolutely love his organization skills. And he would have helped me tremendously if he would have been my math teacher when I was in high school. Because I am that nerd that needs to sit down and, like Miss Kelly was talking at the beginning, I have my little to-do list and it's color coded. And if it's red, it's high priority and I got to get to it today. If it's orange, then I know it's got to be done at this point this week. Yellow, it's on my radar, right? You know, so I have a system that I have. He's going to share with you guys a system that he shares with his math students. And I think this is super important. And I can't thank him enough for doing this. So Mr. Bell, the floor is yours.
Cool, thank you. Can I share my screen? Can you give me power to do that? Thanks. So I'm going to follow up all these very profound sharing moments with another very heartfelt spreadsheet because I love it. So I think, I mean, everything has already been very well articulated from former students, from your teachers. It's a really tough time right now. And one thing that helps me, and what I'm sharing with you, and I just want to make it clear, this is one way to approach. And as Ms. Kelly said, you know, she used to do to-do lists, now she's shifted. And you may need to shift at some point, and this is not the only approach. And this is a very nerdy approach. And I take this approach mostly because I really like spreadsheets, and it's my Zen meditation calming moment. So, and I'll share the link with you. Everyone can download this if you want it, or just to give you an idea. Mr. Dennis, since I see you, can you see the spreadsheet on my screen? I just want to make sure I'm sharing the right. Okay. So there's a couple of things within this that I also want to touch upon, just in terms of you approaching your studies over these last handful of months. Because currently, and those of you that don't know me, I'm teaching the senior IBAA SL, and they're currently deep into calculus. And they've been watching hours and hours of calculus videos every single week that I've been putting out there. So what you see here is how I organize my life. Okay, I don't use this spreadsheet, this particular one. I made for students, but I do have ones that I have in my Google Drive that I use regularly for big things like planning, and even for little things. I forget people's names like in an instant, and we have like 3 or 4 new neighbors that just moved in, and in my spreadsheet I will go and put their name. I put something that I remembered about them, maybe a little note. That way when I forget later on, I can go back and say like, okay, yeah, that was Tom and Rebecca, and they have a dog named Mr. Buttersworth. Okay. And that's true. Those are one of my neighbors. But I wouldn't remember that if I wasn't intentional about intentional about the way that works for me. And that's what works for me. I need to record it, I need to write it, I need to have it somewhere that I can touch. So just in terms of like some of the logistics of this, and again, this is one way you can have this. I'll share the link in the chat after we're done. But one thing that's challenging is just keeping track of all of the information, reminds and zooms and where everything is located. So in this, you can see that there's a place where you can record some of your classes if you would like. So you might be in IB Physics, and maybe you want that here. Okay, and you can put the rest of the information down here. There's also a place where you can keep some of your passwords. Now, you don't need College Board passwords and stuff anymore, but going forward, this was particularly useful for me in university when there is just so many things to do and remember. And I also worked a full-time job, and it was a lot. So this helped me keep track of everything, and I knew where it was. Okay, so we are in December. So if you go to December, you'll see that it's popped up here, IB Physics. And we are on the 9th of December. So maybe tomorrow in IB Physics, I have a homework activity that I need to complete. And I'm going to write that in there because again, it helps me. I can go to the 10th of December. What do I need to do tomorrow? Okay, I've got a homework activity for IB physics. In math, okay, I need to watch unit 9, lesson number 6. There's also an optional Zoom call. Okay, so I've populated some of the math things in here, but you can do some of your own things as well. And then as you're done, if you like to strike things out and say, yep, I finished that, you can go ahead and cross those things out. Okay, so it's a nice, like, tangible way to record things. And I've got it all the way through June if you would like. Okay, and if you're not in my IB math class, just delete everything that you do not need. Okay. Now, there's a couple of other tabs in here, and I think this is maybe more in line with what some of the other teachers and former students were discussing, just ways that you are managing your time. Because time is such a valuable resource, and it's a finite resource. We don't have an infinite time. We can't, say, well, I really want to do well in math class, so I'm going to study 10 hours a day. That's not realistic. You're not going to be able to do that. And when I was in college, when I was in university, I took 7 courses, and each of those courses was a full load with homework and assignments and quizzes and tests and projects. And you need to be very strategic about how you use those 24 hours in your day. Part of that is for sleeping. You also need to schedule in breaks and time for relaxation and time for things that you enjoy, which really whittles down the amount of time that you can realistically spend on, say, an assignment. So when I was in college, I used this, and it helped me allocate my time. Okay, so if I'm taking a math test, so my IB math students will take a math test not until I think February. I think we changed it. But if that math test is only worth 5% of my cumulative grade, okay, I don't want to spend 15 hours studying for a math test that's worth 5%, right? Because I can make up those marks in other places. Now, if you were only taking math, then maybe this is a little bit different, but you're not. You're taking a full course load. Okay, so you can't study 15 hours for a math test. So I used to allocate my time based on the percent worth of an assignment, a quiz, a project, and the more something was worth, the more I wanted to spend my time on it. Okay, so if you are going to use this, you can change this. So if I have something that's worth 20%, my recommended time changes. Okay, and this is how I did it. I said 30 minutes per percentage point, right? So that I could be very strategic about the way that I approached. Yeah, super nerdy, thank you. Also, you'll see that there's a place here. If I really know the material, I don't need to spend as much time, right? I'll do better on this math test or whatever it is. If I don't really know it, then maybe I do need to spend a lot more time. If I am at a 1, I need to spend a pretty significant chunk of time, right? And it's a balance. So that means you're taking time away from something else, right? So what is that something else that you're balancing with that offset of time? Again, use this if it makes sense to you, okay? But you do need to find a way to do some planning. And I put in a sample study planner, again, that I used in college. Now, I wasn't this, I did not do this in high school. So if you're doing this in high school, all the power to you, like, way to go, congratulations, I love it. But you'll see, you can schedule the things in there. So if you're working a job, schedule those things in there. If you have to take care of your siblings, right, schedule those really big, important things first, and then you can build around that, okay? So you'll see maybe on Thursday, I need to do some reading in World Lit, and I'm gonna allocate an hour and a half to that. Then I need a break, then I'm gonna do Spanish, I'm gonna take a break, and I'm gonna do some physics. Now, is this enough time for you? Are you okay being done at 6:30? Do you like to work later in the evening? Customize these types of schedules for you, but it is important, again, to think very strategically and intentionally about how you are approaching your work, right? So how much time are you able to spend, and when are you going to spend that time? And schedule that out. If this works for you, I think it can be a very powerful way to feel like you have a little bit more control and ownership over each day that you're working on your studies. because, and I know that you felt this, and I felt this before as well in school and in jobs. You just, if you don't write it down, if you aren't tracking, if you don't have some type of system, it all piles on, right? And then all of a sudden, you know, you have 6 calculus lessons to watch that are an hour each. Where are you going to find 6 hours, right? And then when you watch 6 hours straight, you're not going to remember those things, right? So you're not getting the same things out of that. So really be, again, intentional about the way that you approach this. And so maybe going back here, there's an important distinction on how you should think about this, right? So sometimes we wait for the motivation, right? You wait for that motivation to feel like, yeah, okay, I'm ready to watch a calculus video on the derivative of exponential functions. But motivation is a feeling, and feelings are fleeting, right? We're happy, we're sad. What you really need is discipline. You need to find that discipline and use and force yourself to follow through. It's not always going to be fun, right? If anybody says that all of your studies from now until you're finished are going to be fun and the best thing you've ever done, there's going to be times when it's challenging. There's going to be things that are not fun and you do not want to do. But if your ultimate goal, and you can go and reflect on that reflection piece that Miss Kelly had at the beginning, is whatever that is, right? You need to find the discipline in order to reach that, right? Because it's not about motivation, it is about that discipline. Okay. And you know, last point here, this can feel kind of cold and arbitrary. And you know, if I spend 2 hours a week working on biology, I'll pass the course. Okay. But you really need to, so there's a quote by some British guy, but memory is the residue of thought. Okay, you really need to make sure that you're thinking critically and deeply about your courses, not just spending the time, right? If you sit for an hour doing biology, that's not enough. If you are not really engaging in the lessons, you're engaging in the material, you're communicating, like Ms. Herder said, and reaching out to your teachers if something does not make sense. Because if you are doing that, that is what's going to translate to that memory, and that's what's going to translate to better grades and just like a better overall sense of enjoyment and satisfaction. And like, yeah, I have control over the things that are going on in my life, right? I think we all feel right now like we don't have control. So if we can find a little semblance of control, I think that's a positive. All right, I'm gonna go. I had some other things. There's an Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. It's a logarithmic curve that I knew my students would really like to see, but I'm not gonna show that. We'll do that later in class. But thank you so much, guys. And I'm here if you, and I'll share the link to this. It's on my website here. But if you have any questions about this, I'd be happy to sit and have a Zoom with you, whether you're my student or not, and we can think about how to, I can talk you more through this. All right, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you. Links going in the chat.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bell. That was absolutely amazing. And ladies and gents, that kind of brings us to our wrap-up session here. So I just want to reemphasize a couple of key points for you guys, and then after that, we'll open it up for some questions, okay? And teachers, if you could, I'd like you guys to hang around so we can just do a quick debrief. But a big takeaway that I hope all of you for graduating in 2021 with this crazy pandemic and everything that you are dealing with, I think prioritization and organization are more important now than ever, because the 3 kids that that shared their stories, they had the teachers who were able to allocate the time for them, right? Like Mr. Bell just said that memory is the residue of thought. So the more that you think of something, the more likely you are to remember it. So you used to have carved time during the day where you would go to Ms. Carpenter's psych class and you would sit there with her for an hour and a half. You would sit with Mr. Bell doing math for an hour and a half. You'd sit with Ms. Herder doing bio for an hour and a half. We don't have that now. So this is on you guys now. So this is even harder for you guys, or more important for you guys, that you stay on top of your work, you organize, prioritize, use those nerdy spreadsheets, because I got to tell you, nerds rule. And I would have killed to have Mr. Bell as my math teacher as a kid, because he would have saved me so much anxiety and worrying that I used to do about my grades and how to organize my time. So you saw Ms. Banta even said as an adult, it helps her. So we need help too, guys. It's not just you. But we're here for you guys. We love you guys. Well, we truly want you guys to succeed. I'm hoping that the other takeaway that you got, that our 3 former IB grads kind of shared with you, is even when things didn't break their way, they were still grateful and thankful for the opportunity to be a part of IB. I've told the diploma class this, right? If you are taking 6 IB classes and you're doing TOK, CAS, and writing your EE, you will never have a harder time than that in college. So if you can handle this, you guys can handle everything. So try to focus on that process and destination, kind of like Miss Kelly was having you write down your why. I love that. I'm big on knowing your why, right? Remind yourself of your why when times get tough, when you think about quitting, when you're having those moments of self-doubt that we all have. Just remember to remind yourself of your why and why you're doing this. And I always tell my kids this, you know, do something today that you will thank yourself for tomorrow. And then on that note, another thing that was said that I really wanted to emphasize, I don't know if you guys know who Carmelo Anthony is. He's a former Denver Nugget, plays for the Portland Trailblazers, and he won the NCAA College Player of the Year back in 2003. And I'll never forget when he was being interviewed about that. They were like, "Is there anybody you'd like to thank?" And I remember him clearly saying, "I'd like to thank myself for getting up early, for staying in the gym late, for being the first to come to practice, the last to leave, for shooting when I didn't want to shoot." Don't be afraid to thank yourself and be appreciative of the hard work you've done. You know, try to find that balance. You want to be confident but not cocky, right? You want to be proud, and you want to be humble. So hopefully that hits home with you guys. I really appreciate you guys giving out an hour of your time to come to this, and I hope that you found some useful information from it. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to questions. So if you want to unmute yourself or type your questions into the chat, teachers or myself will take them now. I'm just going to maintain this awkward silence for as long as I can, guys. This is called wait time in the world of teaching. When you learn pedagogy, it's called wait time. It's very hard to master. It's as awkward for us as it is for you guys. So let's just get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Well, Kiana did say that she doesn't have any questions, but she thanks all of the teachers for the useful information.
Awesome.
So.
And then Diego said, "What if all the strategies you told us fails?" Impossible, Diego. With all the tips you got, I guarantee you something is going to work. Any other teachers want to jump in on that? Go for it.
Yeah, I think, like I said at the beginning, Diego, it's really important about understanding yourself. Just because one tip works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And so try all the tips given. And then if something doesn't work, take a moment of reflection to ask yourself, why didn't that work for you? What's something that could have made that better or more effective for you? Why does that thing not work for you, right? For example, I loved Eva was talking about how she needs all the music and the noise in the background. And again, that's something that's sort of shifted for me. At school, I liked having my music on all the time. I almost never turn it on anymore. I don't know why. It's just what's working for me right now. So get to know yourself. Be willing to sit down after something does or does not work and truly ask yourself, why did this work? And why did it not? And how can I incorporate these strategies into my next attempt?
And to piggyback on that and also answer Damien's question about what methods you guys use to studying, it takes people a long time to figure out what works for them. In high school, you're given a lot of different tools and methods, and it really boils down to what works for you. It took me through college to figure out that I'm a kinesthetic learner. I have to have something in my hand. I have to have a model. I have to be able to see it. You know, do I wish I would have known that in high school? Absolutely. It would have made things 100 times better. Some people know them right away. Some people take a lifetime to learn what works best for them. So if there's a subject that you need help figuring out how to study, ask your teachers, because how you study in a science class or a math class or an English class, it's all going to be different. So definitely reach out. Again, that communication piece is key. But I mean, we're here, and you know, we're going through this just like you guys are. So we can share as much wisdom as we can, if you ask, because you gotta put yourself out there, and we were more than happy to put ourselves out there as well.
Wait, I'm really interested in Edgar's question. Where's the best place for chicken wings?
Matt says it's fire on the mountain.
Oh, I missed that one. Okay.
I would agree, but I don't eat chicken.
They have fake chicken too, I think.
Yes, their seitan wings are delicious.
And I got a couple questions on there from you guys about exact exam dates. I got to tell you, I am really cautious about sending out these schedules right now because I want to wait until all changes. What I don't want to do is give you guys a schedule and have you save that to your phone, and that's what you go off of, and then I send you out an updated one and you don't have it. So I'm going to wait to send out a finalized schedule once I know for sure where we're testing and on and the exact location and times. But I can tell you right now that the dates won't change. So if you guys are okay with it, what I'll do is on the remind, I'll send out the date and the exams that are taking place on those dates, but it won't have start times and it won't have you know, those details on it. So I'll send that out to you guys ASAP so you have it, so you can at least start knowing the dates, and then the exact times and locations are going to be TBD. Okay, so that you guys have that. And I saw Teryn ask for financial help. I glossed over this really quickly at the beginning, so I'm gonna say it one more time just so you guys make sure it's clear, right? We've all had those moments of self-doubt. We've all thought about quitting at some point, no matter where our journey takes us and what road we're on. If you guys stay in your classes and you do not drop, you will not pay $1 for your exam fees this year. The only time we will charge you is if you drop the course after this semester. So if you show up and you have all your IB classes for second semester, you don't have to pay a thing for the exam or for the subject fee. So the goal is for you guys to stay in your classes, ask for help when you need it, be proactive, and that's where we are at on the schedule and then the exam fee. So hopefully that's good news for everybody.
I would like to maybe address Jose's question about how do you remember things. I think as a teenager, it's really hard to remember things, particularly because your brain isn't fully developed. And also adults have trouble remembering things. If it's not written down for me, I don't ever think about it again. It's just gone out of the brain space. The thing to understand about memory is that memory is tied to your senses, 100%. So if you want to remember things better, then you should tie the acknowledgement of that thing to a sense. So for example, write it down, but then maybe place that sticky note or that thing that you wrote down somewhere where you will then see it. Say it out loud when you write it down. Tell someone else your plan. Listen to someone else tell you the plan. Repeat it over and over and over again, right? Maybe you could even, every time you do a certain thing, you drink a certain tea or you have a Coca-Cola. And so that sensory taste and smell is tied to that thing. It's all tied to sensory images. So if you can create an experience that allows you to feel, see, hear, smell, that will allow your memory to be more reliable.
I wanted to add to what Kelly just said, the use of an agenda. An agenda works awesomely. If you have an agenda with the date and you follow it, then that helps too.
And if you guys don't have an agenda, I recommend that you do buy one. Sorry, just to come in. But everybody has a cell phone. You guys can write the reminders on your phone. It's going to pop up, right? Everyone most likely has a cell phone. So just remember to put it in your cell phone so it pops up that day.
So I want to emphasize too what Ms. Kelly said. I think the important part of a lot of what she said comes down to the idea of, and I'm sure you guys have had this experience, right? When I teach psychology, I teach this all the time. You have your reading in front of you, like, right? You're reading your book and your eyes are doing all the work that they need to do to read. You are reading every line and you get to the end of the page and you're like, wait a minute, I was thinking about going to the mall with my friends. I wasn't even processing what is happening. So our brains are pretty amazing things. So the more that you can attach your whatever content you're learning to personal stories, memories, colors, like she said, I don't care if you don't have a brother or sister and you have a dog, go talk to your dog about what you're learning in French, whatever it may be. That will help you process and retain the information. And then I saw that we had another question about how certain are we that these exams are going to take place. From what I've been told, these exams are happening. And as you guys know, if you've been keeping up with the news, the UK, which is pretty much the origin of IB, it's a global curriculum, but it's housed in the UK. They already started giving out vaccines. So I have been told that come hell or high water, these exams are happening. So as of right now, we must prepare like these exams are going to happen. We can't bank on what happened for the 2020 grads. Because if you look at this past year, what's basically happened is 2020 got the first 3 quarters of their year, right? And then they got shut down the 4th quarter. You guys are in the opposite boat where you've pretty much been shut down the first 3 quarters of your senior year, but you're probably going to get that last quarter. At least that's what I'm hoping. I'm choosing to be cautiously optimistic as we head into the next quarter or the first quarter of 2021. The exams are 100. Don't think of it this way. So another question was, Fernando asked, how much are the exams? Technically, IB doesn't charge you for exams. They charge you for the subject fee. So the only way that you get charged for the subject fee is if you withdraw from the class before the exam or you don't show up the day of the exam, right? So if you are scheduled on May 5th to go in and take your world language test and you oversleep, you just cost yourself not only the chance to earn college credit because IB will not allow you to retake the exam, you just cost yourself $120 because you will be charged that subject fee now. That's how the fees work right now for this year. And I'm not sure we've ever done that, but that's the way it's going to be this year. And then I got a question from Owan asking, where can we find the study guides for the exams? That's pretty much done with your teacher. Honestly, what you guys have been doing for the last year and a half is building your study guide, right? I know when I taught psychology on day 1, I told the kids, you must become a good note taker because this is your study guide for the exam. So I spend the first, quarter of psychology just teaching kids how to take notes. And I'm big on color. Color really helps me. So I color coordinate everything. If we're doing something for the biological approach of psychology, I highlight those things green. If we're doing cognitive, it's blue. If we're doing sociocultural, it's purple. So I always stick to those colors, and that kind of helps me organize and categorize that information and that stuff too. But there's a lot of other websites out there that help you guys for specifics. So I know In Thinking has some really cool stuff for kids. If you guys ask your teachers for that, they can give you some useful information and helpful tips from that too. So.
Kyra, is that what your teacher is doing? We're reading a book together, but she hasn't called me to read it yet.
Are you paying attention?
Yes.
Was there any other questions that I missed, guys?
Sorry, I have my granddaughter here studying.
I think we're good, Jeff. I've been looking
Okay.
through. I don't see any
Okay,
other
good.
questions.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to, I want to thank you guys. Thank you to the amazing IB teachers for going out of your way in doing this. And hopefully we do this again. I want to do this again with you guys very soon. And maybe we can do this consistently as we go through the process of getting you guys exam ready. So thank you to everybody for coming. Hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you guys soon.
Dennis, there was one last question. Why is the IB exam a bit expensive?
Why is it a bit expensive? Well, I'll tell you this. There's two ways to look at it, right? Like I know that $120 is a lot of money, right? 120 bucks to me is a lot of money. I understand. But when you go to college, ask any of us teachers, $120 for 3 credits is probably the cheapest deal you'll ever find on the planet. So when you look at it that way, $120 to save you probably $2,000, $3,000, depending, and that's I'm talking community college prices, guys. Like that's Front Range. If you want to go to Front Range or Red Rocks, it's $3,000 a semester for a full load. So if you could pass 2 IB classes, right? Think about it this way: if you pass 2 IB classes, you get 4s on your exams, and let's say the transfer or the credits transferred, you got 6 credits. You just got 2 classes that you no longer have to pay for, literally saving you thousands of dollars. So if you're an IB diploma kid and you got 6 classes and you pass all of those, you didn't save yourself a couple $1,000s. You saved yourself tens of thousands of dollars probably. So I think it's how we frame it, right? $120 out of my wallet, a lot of money. $120 for a future investment, we're talking peanuts.
So let me piggyback on that. Thank you to Eva and Adrian and, oh man, I forgot her name.
Teryn.
But
Teryn.
thank you, Teryn, right, for all of the great resources that you gave the students in your stories. I was actually class of 2015 graduate. I was a certificate student, and I did take the IB Spanish test. With that said, yes, you have to pay the fee, right, of $120. This year it's different, which I did have to pay $120, but that gave me 10 college credits for Spanish, which meant I didn't have to take those classes. So it saved me not only money, but time. So that is what you guys have to think about. Yes, it's a little expensive right now, but in the future, it will save you time and money.
Thank you, Ms. Macias. Well said. Okay, and I just saw Julie asked, do you guys get a discount like last year? Yes, there is a fee schedule, Julie, but I haven't been given that yet. So I just know that free is going to be severely reduced. Like I think we're probably close to like the $20 or $30 range, and if it's reduced, you're probably in the $40 or $50 range. But I haven't been confirmed on any of that yet, so I'm still waiting to hear back on that for sure. All right, guys, thank you. We appreciate you. Enjoy your day.
Another big shout out to Teryn and to Eva and to Adrian for joining us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything. Have a great day, guys. And
Bye, guys.
teachers.
Thank you.